Hello, everybody. It's John Pollock coming at you for the 500th time this week, and we have fresh blood here with us. The man behind the long and winding Royal Road, post-pro res, and a staple here at Post Wrestling. I'm very tired. WH Park is with us. WH, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, John. Happy New Year, everyone watching on YouTube. Yeah, I'm good. I'm tired too. Not as tired as you, but I am tired.
Yeah, I can't say I'm missing that second Tokyo Dome show from New Japan this year, having those back-to-back early ones, although we have quite an eventful New Year Dash event to go through from earlier today at Ota Ward City Gymnasium. So we're kind of going to go backwards. We're going to focus on Dash off the top, and then we will also get some of WH's thoughts of the wrestling that he has seen over the last week. We'll touch a bit on Stardom's card from last week, the Noah card that happened on the 1st with Nakamura and Keiji Muto, All Japan holding their big year opening cards at Korakuen Hall. Plenty to go around. But WH, first of all, just as an overall sense of buzz for New Japan, what did you sense going into this week for the company? And conversely, coming out of it with these two nights and seeing it executed and some of the angles that they have shot?
I think going in, the big talking point was Omega versus Ospreay. And I don't really feel too much excitement for anything else on the card. And then coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, I feel there was like a great sense of like anticipation for New Japan in 2023, and especially I think after today's show, New Year's Dash. I think we're gonna talk about it, but like I really feel a sense of optimism from a lot of people who might have like a kind of like abandoned New Japan in the last couple of years because of clap crowds or a lot of the really, really horrible booking that they've been doing. But yeah, I myself like was really interested in a lot of the things that were going to happen at Wrestle Kingdom, particularly Omega versus Ospreay. And yeah, I think I have not, to be fair, I have not watched all of Wrestle Kingdom. I've only watched that match, but I am going to go watch everything else because just the buzz and like the praise that the entire card pretty much got from a lot of people on social media in my circle, like was just really astounding to see, to be quite honest with you.
I didn't know what to call this show because this isn't a traditional episode of Post Pro Res. We went with the post show. But alternatively, WH, we could just go with this creative title.
I came into that match a little bit late that you're referencing with the United Empire against Just Four Guys, and I was wondering why is Taka Michinoku like is he a member of the Four Horsemen now? I don't understand it, but that's the new name of Taichi's group is Just Four Guys.
It's clearly going to be the hand signal too that you can see them incorporating as well.
Hey, they ripped off the NWO. Why not rip off the Four Horsemen too? Right?
I mean, hey, it's flattery at its finest. So coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, they were at Ota Ward Gymnasium on Thursday with 2,713 in attendance. So a healthy number for New Year Dash. And it was funny, like at one point on commentary, like they were even noting that, this has been one of the best New Year Dash cards in years. And Kevin Kelly piping in, this used to be a real big thing, this New Year Dash. So we're on our way back, like acknowledgement that it is kind of become more of a background event over the last couple of years. But we had Kevin Kelly, Chris Charlton, and the returning Gino Gambino back for his second consecutive day. And off the top, like they did note some increased signups on New Japan World, but never giving a number. And I would think the combination of Kenny Omega, all the speculation about Mercedes Vernado, that there was probably a lot of people that had given up on their subscription over the pandemic, and this would be the time to come back with those among the focal points on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people mention that I resubscribed to New Japan World because I wanted to see primarily Omega versus Ospreay, but also like the possible debut, and which we got of Mercedes Moné. Is that how you would pronounce her new last name?
We're going with Moné, yes.
Okay, so and it's really going to be curious to see how many of those people they retain over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and this was a free show, by the way, that they were doing and shot a ton of angles on the show. And then late tonight, they're going to be doing a press conference, I guess, to reveal the whole New Japan Noah card for January 21st. So New Japan is running Yokohama Arena with a a card of New Japan versus Noah talent. The very next day is the Noah card that has Muto teaming with Sting and Darby Allin on the same day that New Japan is running Dolphins Arena in Nagoya. So that is 3 major events in 2 days involving 2 promotions that are working together, and conversely, each running the Yokohama Arena on back-to-back nights.
Oh yeah, it's synergy, John. That's what they call it, right? Synergy.
How far is Nagoya and Yokohama Arena? Is that like a sizable distance away from one another?
Okay, so from Yokohama, if we talk about the bullet train, and let's keep in mind the bullet train goes about 300 miles an hour. Okay, so Yokohama to Nagoya would be about 2 hours.
Okay, so certainly it's not a crazy distance either. If you were in that area, you could choose one show over the other.
If you were willing to pay the cost of the bullet train, yes.
Yes, that is right. Or you could just get on a some kind of fighter jet of some sort,
or something like that. Yes. The long rumored electromagnetic rail that I unfortunately did not stick around long enough to experience myself.
Would you be going to any of these shows in the coming future?
I think I would probably go to the Noah show more than the New Japan show. I just got a more enjoyment out of the big Noah show than I did at a New Year's Dash. But I did like, I just want to say, I did like this card that I watched this morning. So
yeah, I'm curious, what do you think the Muta retirement show does at the Tokyo Dome? Because it's going to be a very interesting test of where Noah is at, because you could argue like this is the most buzz Noah has had in years and years when it comes to just in terms of just attention with the Muta retirement and, you know, Nakamura coming over as well. And it's building to like this big historic event in February at the Tokyo Dome. Like, what do you think the ceiling is for a Noah card at the Tokyo Dome?
What was the attendance for Wrestle Kingdom?
26,085.
I'm going to say 15,000.
Yeah, I would say like if they hit 12,000, I would take that as like a pretty good, like Noah is, you know, you know better than me in terms of just the accessibility of Noah, even in the country. Like there is a loyal Noah audience, but you know, for this to be a success at the Tokyo Dome, you are trying to reach people that have probably not sampled Noah in years.
I mean, really they drew that because of Shinsuke Nakamura. Let's be honest, that's because they got so much buzz out of Nakamura facing Muto in that match, and that he was a New Japan guy, so there's a lot of casuals and like people who are fans of him in New Japan that wanted to see him live again that went to this show. Would they have drawn a sold out Budokan without Nakamura? I think they would have had a lot less people for sure.
So let's get into New Year Dash. So this was all, aside from the King of Pro Wrestling 4-way, all mystery matches that the broadcasters stated like, we're learning about this card as you are, and that sounded to be the truth. Like I don't think they were just covering this up. It seemed like there was genuine surprise when, you know, the entrances were made. Opening things up, this entrance, I immediately was like, oh my god, WH is gonna kill me. The House of Torture is out to start things off for us. Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo against Ren Narita, Tomoaki Honma, and Tiger Mask. I know you didn't see all of Wrestle Kingdom, and I would imagine that as you are just perusing all the matches, the New Japan Rambo is probably in last place among your selections. So you did not get to see T-shirt guy Evil on the pre-show Battle Royal, who was also the first one eliminated in the Battle Royal.
I mean, to say I will never watch the New Japan Rumble from this year is probably an understatement. No, I did not see that. I'm probably not going to watch that. I did not.
Don't even say probably. Like I would caution heavily against this 30 minutes of your life that could go towards raking leaves, shoveling snow, or staring at that wall behind you. That might be more productive.
Probably. I did not watch this match live because I woke up a little bit too late to catch the beginning of the show, but I did go back and watch this, unfortunately. You know, people are like saying, you know, oh, the buzz coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, John. And then what did they open this show with? Fucking House of Torture. Yeah, I mean, I was distracted watching this. I did watch it and like, I can do without these guys. Seriously, like, fuck off.
Well, we had Tiger Mask choked by Evil's towel. Tiger Mask was in with a Tiger Driver onto Yujiro, and then they built up to Honma, hitting a Kokeshi onto Evil, and then a headbutt delivered to Evil. Togo runs in with the Garrett and distracts the referee, which allows Yujiro to come in and attack with the walking stick, setting up a magic killer, and Evil pins Honma in 8.5 minutes as WH just sits back for bring it into my veins. But after the match, they're stomping down on Ren Narita. It is 3-on-1, and in comes Minoru Suzuki to the aid of Narita, attacking the House of Torture. But then Togo starts choking him with the Garrett. So they're choking and stomping down Suzuki when El Desperado enters the mix, and successfully they fight off the never open weight 6-man champions, and their standing are Suzuki, Narita, and Desperado. And they certainly are teasing that these three are going to go for the 6-man titles. And Suzuki fist bumped his, I guess now ex Suzuki-gun teammate Desperado, but just gives a look to Narita. And then they play Kazuninare to leave. And as they hit the crescendo, not a person in this building sings along with it. Like there was nothing to this. It was the most anticlimactic version of the song. But there you have it. After breaking up Suzuki-gun,
you can only sing along to his entrance, not to his exit. Job.
Not his exit, I guess not. So it was an interesting use there, and they did not play it at Wrestle Kingdom either. So that is your opening, and the takeaway was this trio involving. So Suzuki is just going to be forming trios in all these different promotions.
I know.
All amazing. Japan, New Japan. We'll see what happens next. Maybe he's going to be recruiting at GLEAT or something.
Did you watch that tag match from Taiji?
No, not the Taka Taichi match.
Oh my God. So him and Doki were fighting Honma and Jinkasai, and it's he bleeds like a gusher, John. It was amazing. I can't recall the last time I ever saw Minoru Suzuki bleed, but he let one bleed out. It was almost Muda scale. This bloodbath he was involved in.
What are you expecting Suzuki's time in New Japan to look like this year? Because he's throwing out the idea of one more shot at the IWGP title, but seems to be doing a lot of dates with All Japan. Like what do you, and breaking up Suzuki-gun, like it seems like for a reason. But yeah, what do you see as Minoru Suzuki's path in the next couple of months and where he's going to be spending most of his time? Do you see him rotating?
Yeah, I think you could probably do a challenge with Okada somewhere, probably in Yokohama, in a future Yokohama show.
In the rain?
Hopefully in the rain, with the pirate ship in the background in the harbor outside.
There you have it. You could have the whole tie-in with Kyrie.
And then, but yeah, I see him like being more involved in like other promotions, like in particularly All Japan. He seems very comfortable there. He seems to have taken young Hokuto Omori under his wing, and he was teaming with Dragon Gate freelancer now, Naruki Doi, which I'm like, what the fuck? I was like hoping, is he going to bring
that's
Naruki
the
Doi
trio that they have established in All Japan that we were referencing. Yeah.
So, and then he's doing some stuff also in Noah. I just think he's going to be like, who's going to pay me and how much? And I'm going to fucking show up on your door. And then I think his involvement with New Japan will still be significant, but not full time.
Yeah, I think you could make him a bit more special in New Japan and do these. I think he was somebody that really loved doing the Minoru Suzuki tour of the US and going to all these places where he's treated as an attraction and gets to do these unique matches. And I think he kind of wants to take a little bit of that into Japan, where he can go around and work interesting matches that keeps his aura intact. And, there is less of a specialness, I think, in New Japan when you're on every show and just kind of a run of the mill. Like, utilize him most when there's something of significance to do with him, like a build up to a title challenge when you need that main event.
I think it's just as important that he's like forming this group with Narita. I think it's very significant that he agreed to okay, I'll take this guy because this guy who most fits my style of gotchism is Narita. And also I'm curious to see what kind of benefit Desperado has being in a smaller unit with Minoru Suzuki. And is he going to move up to heavyweight? Because I don't see what the point of keeping him as a junior is. Same thing with Hiromu Takahashi. I think both those guys should go heavyweight, and Desperado could easily transition to that division, and I think he would add a lot of fresh blood. He has the aura, he has the charisma to be a top guy in that company, I feel. And it'll be interesting. Is it going to be less, when Suzuki's not around, but Desperado and Narita are in cards? Are they going to be teaming with one another? I think that would be a very interesting combination.
The next match saw Will Ospreay teaming with TJP and Francesco Akira. So there's a big gasp that Ospreay is going to be competing one day after the match with Kenny Omega. He's bandaged up, selling the effects of the match against Taichi, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Doki, who come out with a repackaged Taka Michinoku, which means suit and shades, and addresses the crowd that there will be big changes this year with the four of them, and they will be known as Just Four Guys.
Are they maybe they're starting their own like hamburger chain in Japan, John? Like, it's a very competitive market. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Hamburger chains are very, very popular all across Japan. So like, unless like, Taka's got a secret formula, maybe the hair gel in his god awful haircut, then I don't know what they're going to do to compete against all the other places in Japan.
Yeah, well, there's something about Taka is going to be the spokesman for this group, and the announcers were trying to explain how Gino's asking, how can it be just four guys? There's three of them, and he doesn't even acknowledge Taka's existence as a human. I'll see how this goes. I don't want to see Taichi, as much as Taichi can very much lean into just being in a kind of like haha kind of group. Like I see Taichi being. It's just like we've broken up Suzuki Gun, but we're pretty much just creating the spare parts of Suzuki Gun and putting them all together here. And I just hope that it's not just a retread of where all these characters had been. Like Kanemaru and Doki, they're fine on the undercard, but they're not changing anyone's world. But Taichi is someone that, he has improved greatly. And you can put in a, semi-significant spot. And obviously if they're pairing him with Ospreay coming out of this match.
Yeah. I mean, that's the direction you really get, is that, Will Ospreay is going to be occupied with Taichi for the foreseeable future. And I think it would do both of them really good, because I don't really think, I can't really recall them having a significant program with one another, or having a significant singles match with one another. I don't know I can't remember if they've ever met in the G1 or nothing. But yeah, I think it's a good place for Ospreay to start his year, on his way back to what I feel is going to be the rematch with Omega, not in AEW, but back in New Japan. And I'm assuming probably next year at the Tokyo Dome again for 2024.
So the explanation here as well they bring up is that Kanemaru and Doki beat Akira and TJP in the Super Junior Tag League back in November, near the beginning of the tournament. TJP, as he did at Wrestle Kingdom, doing the Otani face wash on Kanemaru, and then Ospreay's in with Taichi. They go at it. Triple boots delivered to Doki, and then after a snap German by Akira, it is Doki that catches Akira with the Skydust special in 9 minutes and 18 seconds. They pin the champions again. And this was the theme of pretty much every match, was champions losing to set up next challengers. So the direction we see here is, first of all, the United Empire, they continue to attack them after the match and the loss. And Ospreay kicks Taka right in the Michinokus, and then grab their belts. And Ospreay and Taichi continue to brawl, and just four guys stand in the ring holding up their arms. So it looks like the next junior heavyweight tag title program is established, and Ospreay Taichi at one of the 5 shows that New Japan has to set cards for.
I thought this was really strange, the way they position the Ospreay and the United Empire as the heels, because I really felt Ospreay was the babyface at Wrestle Kingdom and Omega was the heel at Wrestle Kingdom. But then the next night it's like Ospreay is a heel flipped again, and I just don't get it. And if you're gonna position anyone as a babyface, against, if you're gonna position anyone against Ospreay as a heel, Taichi's perfect. He can easily get heat as a heel, just doing his bullshit stuff that he was doing a couple of years ago. I mean, I like this version of Taichi a lot more than I did his previous version. But if you want to continue Ospreay being a babyface, which I think this is what they should do, is you should pair him with a heel Taichi as his opponent. So I thought it was just a really weird dynamic to seemingly switch his role here from last night.
Yeah, it was definitely like a flip. I don't know if it's the idea of just giving Ospreay more of a harder edge, and they were definitely emphasizing how dejected he was after the loss. He's like sulking in the corner and such, but that was definitely the impression of how it came off, like much more of the heel edge of Ospreay. Zack Sabre Jr. and TMDK. I have many questions. First of all, your thoughts on this, this version of the three of them, which will gain a new member, and the change of hair color for Zack Sabre Jr. is a thumbs up, thumbs down, WH.
He does not look good as a blonde, in my opinion. Like, and listen, John, I'm on record with Tom Lawler himself. I'm on Team George Michael, like not Team Boy George. Okay, so I'm with Zach like all the way as far as that goes. The new haircut leaves a lot to be desired, but I do like this pairing with him with Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes because there's history there, because they were together in Pro Wrestling Noah at the same time. They were actually paired on screen a couple of times on tours. So it makes sense. It's like, oh, I can believe that this group actually would form together because they're probably legit friends in real life and probably hang out backstage. So
have a WhatsApp group.
Yes, and probably Line. That's the one they use in Japan. So they're online probably together. Yeah, and I think it's great for Hayes and Nichols because now they're paired with the guy who's established star in this company.
These guys were so lost. Like they were so lost in the shuffle. This is really just these 2 nights. It is so resurrected TMDK. This is their most significant push in New Japan. Like they were just background figures.
And I hope it stays kind of like, we'll talk about their new member, but like kind of a tight unit, because I don't want to see like, all 700 members of fucking TDMK coming from Australia to like interchange on tours or whatever. Like just keep it. These guys are like the New Japan, representatives of TMDK. You can have like Bronson Reed pretend to be part of TMDK in WWE as Mrs. like, Aaron Boy, whatever he is now.
Did you like how Kevin Kelly will not identify him as Bronson Reed? He is Jonah in New Japan chronology here on the show.
Sure. I mean, hey, that's out of WWE's playbook. We don't acknowledge other people's past names and associations. Neither should New Japan.
And obviously you would have assumed like this was Jonah's role.
To be the leader?
To lead this group. I don't know if Zach was necessarily going to be earmarked for this group or if he is the stand-in once Jonah signed. Like you would have thought.
I think he is probably going to be part of the group. I think Zack Sabre Jr. was probably going to be a member of it, but I think he would have been the leader because he's a bigger star in the company.
Yeah, this group is greatly enhanced with Zach, and you're probably right. I think like that would have been the direction to go. So the three of them are taking on Hiroki Goto, YOSHI-HASHI, and Tomohiro Ishii. And I don't know if you remember this moment, but when you and I were in this building for New Year Dash 2020, and Zach is brawling with Will Ospreay and yells out that Will's a Tory, and boy, did you pop at that line and getting to hear it as they were near our section. A great off-the-cuff remark by Zack Sabre Jr. And I just remember you just loved that line.
Because like I don't think I was too fond of Will at the time, so I was like, and I hate Tories with a passion. Like I don't care what country they're from. If you're a fucking Tory, I fucking hate you.
What about spelling?
Huh?
What about spelling?
What Tory? With a Y. We talked about it.
Tory. I understand. Anyway, that was my attempt at a joke. So let's get into the match here. Zach and Ishii renew their rivalry, and then the Shoto gets stopped. Multiple standing switches here with Ishii and Zach until a German is hit, and then he pops up, nails him with the PK, and it ends with the tank buster onto YOSHI-HASHI with Nichols pinning YOSHI-HASHI. So TMDK going after the tag titles, and if it wasn't made clear enough, they held up the belts. It's almost like you need a flashing sign. We're going for the tag titles. And then Zach gets into Ishii's face, and Ishii is eyeing that television title, the prestigious television title. This is a belt. Way hates this belt, just hates it.
I joined him in this hate. I'll talk about another belt I'm going to hate later on, John, but I hate these fucking belts. They look so, the problem is they look so cheap. They look like they're made out, both this and the KOPW look like they're made out of cardboard. And they're shit. God, just invest some fucking money into these props, please.
Zach then goes down. He's got a TMDK shirt, and he just picks out Kosei Fujita, puts the TMDK shirt on him, And dude, the announcers just lose it. They can't believe this. He's going to bypass an excursion. He's being recruited into a faction. And Zack calls him his young boy. And this is a callback to the G1 when Fujita dressed up as Zack Sabre Jr. So you do have a link. And Fujita, it was really funny. Like, this guy, in terms of just being recruited, had this look of like, what is happening here? Like, it looked like this guy was just being recruited on the spot and didn't know what was going on. I thought his facials were tremendous here. And I really like this group. It's an interesting mix of everyone led by Zack, who is totally ready for this role to be a group leader. He, of all of them, had outgrown Suzuki-gun and being second to Minoru Suzuki. So I think this breakup of Suzuki-gun, it's going to most benefit Zack Sabre Jr. in the immediate future. So I like this a lot, and adding a Fujita to it, there's a big emphasis on taking these younger native Japanese stars and putting that elevation to them in 2023.
I mean, eventually he's going to go on his excursion, but I think right now just being the TMDK young boy, eating the pins when he's tagging with Zack is a good role for him. And I mean, I think, TMDK will team with him in 6-mans or 8-mans with Fujita in the mix. But like when Zack needs to do a straight tag, 2-man tag, Fujita is probably going to be his partner, and he's going to be eating the pins, like in those matches, not Zack. So it's a good role for him. Didn't he go up to the other one? Who is it? Owari? Did he say, "We don't want you"? Didn't he say something like that?
Yeah, he said, and then he said, "This is my young boy, like suck it, Moxley." Who's got, like, I guess Umino as his property. What is, as we're talking about kind of young lions and excursions, what's your expectation for Yuya Uemura this year? I look at that guy as he might be at the top of the list in terms of upper bound potential.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Yoda in Mexico and before in the UK was like really turning heads. I mean, this guy's doing like fucking, planches and topes, John, for a guy his size. Like, I don't know. Uemura's like kind of disappeared off my radar, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah, what character can they come up for Uemura and Tsuji when they come back?
Hopefully, like, they're gonna go with the, Ren Narita train of thought and not the Master Wato train of thought with this guy. Like,
Master Wato will get the greatest comeback award if he can overcome that character this year and ditch the Master Wato. I'm ready for him to just come out and denounce Master Wato.
He needs to be like Misawa in that tag match with Kawada, and he's like, take off this fucking mask. Like, he needs to get his tag partner, bleach, like, dye my hair, get that, black dye, instant dye ready, pour it over my head. And then he's like, I'm Kawado again. Fuck you, Master Wato.
Ghetto, Master Wato. What a waste of sheer potential that I've had to live with for years. What am I?
He should do a shoot interview where he said, like, this was inspired by the fucking character from the Phantom Menace name with the same name as this. And then just like, Ghetto's a Star Wars nerd or some shit like that.
Did you see you haven't seen the 4-way from Wrestle Kingdom, have you?
Not yet, no.
I think you'll enjoy that. It's Master Wato's best performance since he's come back.
It's not a high bar.
It's not a high bar. Like, he's had a few shining moments here and there, but I'm more optimistic of a guy that I was so high on Hirai Kawato before he went on excursion, and I've been very disappointed in where he has been at, but maybe this will be a rehabilitation year for him. Shota Umino, Togi Makabe, and Ryusuke Taguchi. I say Togi Makabe because I did watch him enter. I don't know what happened to him during this match. He was not even a thought during this match. I don't know if he was on the floor the whole time. He was playing the Invisible Man during this match.
John, and at his age and his tenure in this company, he's not bumping for anyone. he's like, I'm not even gonna do the match.
They get Immigrant Song for this guy. Like, they clear it. And man, maybe it's the renewed push for Togi Makabe. 2023 is his year. And they're taking on LIJ's Tetsuya Naito, Hiromu Takahashi, SANADA, and BUSHI. And Umino makes his entrance through the crowd a la John Moxley. And LIJ, they tease inviting Taguchi to join them, but it's all a ruse just to attack him. And Yo gets drilled into the guardrail. Umino gets dropped from the apron. He's clutching his knee. And then Hiromu and Yo start to go at it. And they bring up the fact that Lio Rush had to fly home after breaking his nose at the Tokyo Dome. He got dropped on the metal part of the ramp and he put up a photo of this if you want to look it up. It looked like his face was destroyed off of this fall. So hopefully he's not out too long, because him and Yo have had a good thing going. But Yo and Hiromu, I thought were great here. Some great sequence between the two, and then a counter to the poison counter, and then a poison Rana by Yo hits the direct drive, pinning your new junior heavyweight champion in 13:34. You've got Umino doing a tranquilo pose to mess with Naito. Yo then cuts this spirited promo and wants to challenge for the title. Dude, Yo is if you're betting futures, Yo and Sho, I think everyone had their money on Sho. And dude, Yo is coming into his own now. And unfortunate that Lio Rush is hurt, but he, to me, stood out a lot in this match. He was one of the brighter spots, I thought, on this show, just how great he looked with Hiromu.
Oh, for sure. And it's great that he is able to shine as a singles and with this challenge to Hiromu Takahashi. And I don't know what the point of having Hiromu Takahashi be the junior champion anymore is, unless if it's meant to like put the belt on Yo and put him over as the new ace of this division, I'm all for it. And I know, like, Karen Peterson's in the YouTube chat here. I know she probably like flipped out of her seat or something when she's watching this.
Dude, if the Sho fan club had a nuclear meltdown, Karen Peterson would withstand it, and she would be holding that flag for Sho. I know she will never give up on Sho, and we shouldn't either. But it's dark days right now for Sho, is all I'm going to say.
Yes. Listen, until he gets rid of the snake skin pants and gets back the high voltage shit, I'm off Team Sho for a while. So
yeah, like the knock on Yo was just he didn't have the charisma, but dude, he had a ton of personality and charisma in this post-match interview, a lot of fire. I'm like, this was not a match I was even thinking about. If anything, I thought after kept off the show, I thought Kushida would make a big return on this show. He is in the witness protection program, and instead Yo had a big standout moment. And you'd have to think this is probably just a kind of a makeshift program with Leo hurt, and they're just going to go with Yo. And maybe it's just for Hiromu's first title defense, but I thought he did a great job setting this match up, and it's a match I'm pleasantly looking forward to after this show.
He needs to do Hiromu needs to do like a stipulation match with Shota Umino. Like, loser can't bring out a leather jacket as part of their entrance anymore.
This is all possible. Maybe they could do a loser has to wear their rookie gear and then go to a time limit draw, so that it's a unnecessary stipulation to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it's all unnecessary stipulations are all under the Bushi Road umbrella, John.
Jay White, El Phantasmo, Kenta, and Taiji Ishimori against Tama Tonga, who has just brought the Never Openweight Championship back home to New Japan, away from the clutches of Paul Levesque. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Master Wato, and Hikuleo, an all-star cast. And Jay White, after acknowledging and showing his respect to Kazuchika Okada after his loss, right back to regular Jay White antics here. He was in a very difficult position. I would say both of his major title runs, it's almost been like a countdown to losing to Okada. And that's a tough role to be in. I think this was a main event that everyone was not viewing it as the main event, and they had to follow one of the toughest matches to follow in maybe a generation. Like, that's also not hyperbole.
In both cases, like both title reigns, overshadowed by Kenny Omega.
Yeah. One in terms, like he was the stand-in for Kenny Omega in 2019. And here it was, listen, this show gained so much more attention once Omega and Ospreay was added. And I think many viewed that as the main event. And they had to follow it. And I thought they did a great job in the match, but it was also like, it took a while for that crowd to get into it after what they were coming off of. Kenta is now doing this power walk deal that he did down the ramp at the Tokyo Dome. So that's his thing now. I remember you back in 2004. You're like, you know what Kenta's missing? A comical walk to the ring. That would truly put this guy over the top and take Noah to the next level.
Did I say that in 2004? Were you mistaking me for? I think you were mistaking me for something Jeff Merrick might have said to you, John.
It might have been an O'Grady's discussion. Hikuleo's doing all of the power spots. Kevin Kelly predicts he will be IWGP champion sooner than later. And they're obviously putting a lot of emphasis on Hikuleo, but dude, he got nothing out of that Carl Anderson match back in when was it? December in Sendai.
It's like my entire viewing experience of Carl Anderson. I got nothing.
Well, Hikuleo hits his avalanche to Jay White, power slam for a 2 count, and then El Phantasmo rolls up Tonga with the tights for a near fall, and Tonga rips off the shirt. Look at this upper body, Tongan twist, and then calls for the gun stun, and he hits Geto with it. Geto took it 100 million times better than Carl Anderson did at the Dome. And then Phantasmo runs in with a belt shot to Tonga, so we get a DQ at 11 minutes and 38 seconds.
Why? I don't know why. Also, like,
they knew you were watching. They're like, let's throw House of Torture in the opening match and then do a Bullet Club DQ finish in the midway through the show. That's what we want for WH.
So El Phantasmo can have a crisis of conscience. Like that's the main impression I got. Besides, like, the stipulation match that was set up, but it's like, oh, okay, ELP is gonna be a babyface. I think it's kind of like following up on like kind of what they were hinting at in the G1 with him, right? So this is the year they're gonna break him away from the Bullet Club finally, and then make him a member of the home army and make him a full babyface, which I am curious to see if he can pull that off. So, like, hey, if it's something new, you give someone new, a fresh painted coat, I'm all for it. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, Hikuleo, like, he's a tall dude. I don't know. I don't really, he's got a nice power slam. I will give him that. He's got a very nice power slam. But beyond that, I don't know what the deal with this guy is besides being, Haku-san and being tall.
I've seen improvements in Hikuleo. Do I see him winning the IWGP title sooner than later? I'll take later over sooner. But he is clearly being like positioned, I think, as like their next like kind of bad luck Fale monster type of role that they can utilize him in. So you pretty much need a scorecard to keep track of the pairings coming out of this 8-man. So Kenta delivers a belt shot to Tanahashi, then low blows Hikuleo, and White beats the piss out of Hikuleo with multiple chair shots. So it looks like Phantasmo and Tama Tonga for the never open weight title, Jay White against Hikuleo, and probably another Tanahashi Kenta match down the road. But White gets on the microphone and says that Hikuleo is never going to enjoy the spoils of his work here. He knows how much New Japan means to Hikuleo's family, including his father, and teaming with your brother. But he's going to make sure Hikuleo never has his Wrestle Kingdom moment. And I don't want to ever hear the term Wrestle Kingdom moment again. I cringe every time I hear WrestleMania moment and how I want to have a WrestleMania moment. I do not need to hear anyone else do a copycat of that. Come up with any other word than moment.
You know what you should do, John? Do what I do and listen to the Japanese commentary. They don't ever say, as far as I know, Wrestle Kingdom moment.
And Jay White issues a challenge to Hikuleo, a loser leaves Japan match, and hits him with the Blade Runner. So pretty significant here with Jay White and Hikuleo in a loser gets a flight, a one-way trip out of Japan.
That's right. Back to
Destination
America.
unknown. Yeah.
Probably Florida. That's what I'm guessing.
That would probably be the landing spot, you would assume. What would be your expectation here?
Of the result?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I've never heard anything about like the contract status of Jay White. Like, I cannot see like Hikuleo being on like someone that New Japan is gonna let go this early in his career. Especially he's come through their dojo system, and they see so much. They see so much potential in him.
He's gonna go chase Carl around the world.
That's right. With Jay White though, like, I mean, if I'm Jay White, like, just from his perspective, this title reign is just like, I got overshadowed by the Ospreay Omega match and even though I'm the main event, he had 2 title defenses. This is like one of the most boring reigns that's ever been booked for an IWGP champion in its history, let alone the last 10 years. And he's done everything in that company that you can do as a wrestler. He's faced pretty much everyone on that roster, had feuds with and beaten every major star in there. What's there left for him to do? Like, if you look at it from that perspective, like, if I'm him, I'm like, and people are knocking on my door to sign me to go to an American promotion like WWE or AEW. I'm seriously considering it because there's nothing left for you to do, and he's not the project there anymore, right? I think Ospreay's the project now for the big foreign star. I think he's the one that they look at as like, okay, we're gonna put all our, not all our eggs, but like a lot of our eggs in Ospreay's basket. And like he knows like the next year is going to be built towards probably Omega versus Ospreay 2 at next year's Tokyo. So he's not going to have a main event spot next year's Wrestle Kingdom either, or probably, so if I'm him, like, yeah, I'm going to be like, okay, let me put over Hikuleo on my way out, and I'm going to go to America and wrestle for a television company over there.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a surprise to me. I don't have any knowledge of what this means for either guy. I could see both clearly being on WWE's radar. If I'm Jay White, though, WWE makes a ton of sense for me at this point in my career. AEW, I've got to say, would be I would really second guess that one, just in the sense of there's so many guys there, and I think performers are always going to believe it doesn't matter. I will cut through and get to the top. You have to sort of have that confidence in yourself. But I could see him certainly getting lost in AEW faster than in WWE, where he could come in and do a lot of his character work. He, I think, would blend very well with the talent there on the main roster, which I would assume would be where he would. I would not see this guy leaving New Japan and taking like an NXT deal. I would
no, I don't see like if Paul Levesque's gonna hire him, putting him on NXT is like, okay, you're gonna show up on main roster. They like, I don't know, is there a shortage of heels in on either brand, John? I don't know.
They could, yeah, you could go either way with him. I think he's kind of like, he's done this role so much that I mean, you've always stated that you feel like his work translates a lot better to an American audience than in Japan. And I agree. I think that I'm more high on Jay White than most, but I do understand the criticism. And if I'm looking at my top foreign star of Jay White versus Will Ospreay, it is Will Ospreay. Like, I don't think that's even a debate. If you are choosing like, who is the guy we are going to build this next year around, it's Will Ospreay in that role and not a Jay White. He can be in a featured role, but not the featured role. So anyway, I think it's a major stipulation match, and we will see how quick they put this match together. If this is Nagoya in a couple of weeks, possible. Shingo Takagi takes on the Great Okan, Toru Yano, and Sho to kick off another year of the King of Pro Wrestling Championship, now represented not by a trophy, but a belt. You're not getting this replica?
I
put on your mantle.
I saw this, like, I saw a picture of it before, John, and they announced that they were going to create a belt for this bullshit. And then I saw it on television and I said, is that Velcro? Do they strap it on with fucking Velcro? WWE does this, right? With their fucking belts. And I was just like, are you fucking serious? You cannot. How much did you pay fucking Mercedes? How much did you pay for other shit how much did you pay Omega that you cannot create a proper belt? I mean, John, it's embarrassing. The title belt of a British indie looks better than this fucking belt. It's made out of the cheapest looking leather you could find. It doesn't even have a full fucking like set of plates on it or anything. And it just the font, the design. Oh my God. Like did a blind person design it? I don't know. It's terrible. And I think the worst is it just looks cheap. That's the worst part. That and the television title, they just look so cheap. I'm just so embarrassed for Shingo Takagi to have to hold this atrocity.
It should be a crown, truly.
Sure. I mean, something made of aluminum maybe would look better than this belt.
Well, Kevin Kelly notes that when they did the introduction, this was not labeled the main event. So another match to come later on. The buckle gets exposed, so everyone takes a turn getting thrown into this. Sho brings a wrench into the ring. The ref takes it away, so then Sho kicks Okan low. And then Sho gets a chair to use on Yano and Takagi, but the ref catches Takagi holding the chair and admonishes him. Okan and Takagi then work together against the House of Torture, fighting them off. And it includes Yujiro being sent into the rail as Evil and Dick Togo are seated at the desk. And then Sho is begging for mercy. Okan offers his hand to Takagi, but says, F you, and hits him with the Mongolian chops. An eliminator is hit to Yano. Takagi breaks it up and pins Yano with Last of the Dragon. Shingo Takagi, once again, your holder of the King of Pro Wrestling Championship after 12 minutes and 54 seconds. And so he holds his Velcro title. Great-O-Khan shows his British heavyweight title. And it looks like we are getting champion versus champion at some point to come. There are so many belts on this show, dude.
Ridiculous.
Like it's
ridiculous.
Like it's an AEW thing, but it feels like it's on steroids here in New Japan. Like there are just so many titles.
To be fair to AEW, like New Japan started this long before AEW started it.
This has always been a consistency of New Japan. It's not a new thing, but it's just like even when we're doing like the show descriptions and we have to write down like this championship match and this championship match, it's like, why do you think so many of these titles, no one has any? It's like there's 2 titles that mean something on this card. But one thing I have learned is that no company will ever say we should lower our title number. It is never something we lower. It's just, you just keep adding them. So it's here to stay.
I mean, you know, the adage less is more has never applied more than to title belts in wrestling companies, in my opinion.
You have no thoughts on the King of Pro Wrestling?
You know, again, my big thought is like, I feel sorry for Shingo Takagi having to hold this thing. I'm sure going back to Dragon Gate for that one match back in December was like a breath of fresh air for him, because he could be, you know, old Shingo Takagi, you know, and like he didn't have to worry about any of the bullshit that he's been stuck in. I mean, the only good thing is like he's going to be the next challenger for Okada. But then, you know, we'll talk about this later, but like, again, embarrassing to see him with that belt and Okada with his belt. And I don't even like that belt.
I like that we started this with you. I really like this show as we get into it, but I think all fair criticism. Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega are the surprise tag team in the main event. Kenny Omega coming out and then acting surprised as Okada's music plays, and everyone is in awe as they take on Jeff Cobb and Aaron Henare. And dude, Omega's eye is just a disaster. Him and Kevin Owens have matching eyes this week.
It's amazing. Like I was like, when he came out, I was like, whoa. Can't remember when Kenny would have gotten that shiner.
It was in the spot where he's taking a pair of the Cheeky Nando's kicks in the corner, and it's the last kick that you can see he gets drilled. My thought was, my God, if this guy broke his orbital bone and he's supposed to do a ladder match next week, it doesn't look like he broke his orbital bone, because it's very evident when you have a broken orbital. But dude, he got nailed with this kick. Like it looked like a full force kick that he took on I think it was like the 3rd kick that he took in the position, but that looked to be the spot from the Ospreay match.
Hopefully lots of ice packs as he flies back to America.
Jesus. You know, this match, it was just like the intrigue of seeing Okada and Omega together. They didn't have to do a whole lot in this match, but this was like a fine kind of like your Corky and Hall style main event that they did. It was 13.5 minutes. Okada building up to a hot tag to Omega, and then Henare takes over. The Streets of Rage gets avoided. Okada drop kick, elbow from the top, Rainmaker pose, and then Henare ducks the Rainmaker and gets drilled with a V-trigger, Snapdragon from Omega, V-trigger Rainmaker combo, and a Rainmaker to pin Henare in 13:37. You know, if you were you know, just curious to see these two, they were great together as a tag team, and a chance to do something different that I don't know if you're ever going to see these two team again unless there's a storyline reason for it. So I thought this was a cool idea for your main event. And then they shook hands afterwards, and Omega just took off and left the ring to Okada. And Omega and Cobb, they traded words. So Omega and Jeff Cobb is something that
maybe Jeff Cobb's gonna show up on Dynamite or something and attack. Maybe he's gonna cost them the 7th match of the series, John.
I could see that match, if not AEW, at least on that San Jose show in February, which is a 3,000 seater that they are running for that Battle in the Valley show. So we will see how much they add beyond the Mercedes Kyrie match. But yeah, Okada thanked Omega, and then Takagi comes out with his King of Pro Wrestling participation title, wearing an Inoki shirt, and puts Okada on the spot, saying Inoki would take on any challenger at any time. Do you have Inoki's spirit? And Okada notes that the King of Pro Wrestling, he's taking the blame. This was my idea, but I've never held it, so let's do it. And let's do away with the King of Pro Wrestling Championship. Maybe he can take this thing and retire it just like he created it.
I would love for Okada just to go on a spree and say, I'm going to face every other singles champion except for the junior heavyweight champion. And if I beat them, I retire your belts. They merged. They get sealed, as they say in Japanese wrestling. We're going to seal the United States Championship. We're going to seal the KOPW title. We're going to seal the Never title. Seal them all. Maybe bring back the IC champ. But listen, if you just have they went like how many years without like 17 fucking belts in this company, John? Heavyweight title, tag team titles, junior title, junior tag titles. It's all you need. It's all you need. I don't care how good never fucking open weight matches were in the past. If it means more if you have one belt as your top singles title.
That is how the show ended. I thought in terms of just shooting a ton of angles, setting up a lot of matches for many shows to come. Like, I thought this was an extremely newsworthy show. I thought the Okada Omega stuff was that was a great surprise to deliver at the end. So I think you certainly, if you tuned in, you got a lot out of this show, and 42 wrestlers booked on this show in matches in the span of 2 hours and 45 minutes. But overall thoughts on the show, WH?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it went by really fast because I think, the none of the matches really overstayed their welcomes too much, except maybe the opener, maybe the Bullet Club match. But even that was short enough where I wasn't like that offended by it. And it set up like, I feel it's an intriguing match because of the stipulation between Jay White and Hikuleo. And I'm not a huge fan of Jay White, but I thought he cut a really good promo at the end. And I'm like, okay, like that's an impassioned person. And like, I'm intrigued to see what happens with the stipulation with that. And like you're saying, the main thing is like so many programs, so many title challenges came out of this. And I like it. I like the fact that it's clear what the direction is for
every match. Had a purpose behind it. Like, there were no throwaway matches because everything is leading to something in the future.
And you would assume not all of these title matches are going to happen on the same show. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But if you have like, okay, the next 2 tours we're setting up like, like this city's going to have this match, this city's going to have this match, this, and so forth and so on. And that's great. And it's good for business because each city, like the fans in those cities have like something to look forward to, like something special to latch onto, like, oh, I'm going to buy a ticket for that.
The last thing is just when you're looking at handling Kenny Omega this year, like how much do you see him coming back to Japan? Do you see it being just maybe like a Dominion and maybe one other show before Wrestle Kingdom? Do you see more, less? How do you handle Ospreay and Omega in the follow-up this year? Because that's going to be a big program.
I think it really depends on like how much Tony Khan is willing to spare him, and like from his TV. I would imagine that if he's healthy, that he wants him for every AW pay-per-view and most of the Dynamites that going forward. And I mean, Wrestle Kingdom is an exception, and like it was such a smart move to put him on this show because there's so much buzz about Kenny Omega coming out of that match. And
he feels like the biggest star in the industry coming out of this show.
Yeah,
it's a level of star power that I don't think he has reached the whole time in AEW. Like, he's been a big guy in AEW, but he feels coming out of this show as like the guy at the moment.
Oh, and that's the thing. That's kind of like the kind of thought I see a lot, and that I share is like, if the guy you saw in that match with Ospreay was the guy you saw in every title match when he was the AEW champion, we'd be talking a different tune about Kenny Omega. I think we wouldn't be talking about, oh, he doesn't have that je ne sais quoi he had in New Japan. He doesn't wrestle the same in AEW as he does in New Japan. It's weird because I feel like, in my opinion, like he prefers wrestling in Japan, not necessarily New Japan, but in Japan itself. I think he prefers being, because like, he loves Japan. like all kidding aside about him being a weebo and stuff like that, he genuinely loves Japan. I think he loves the Japanese wrestling industry. I think he loves the Japanese wrestling fans. I think he loves performing for them more than he does American fans. But it was like going to AEW and helping form a new company was too good of a opportunity for him to pass up, and understandably so. But like I can see there's going to be a big decision he'll have to make when his AW contract comes up, and and New Japan's going to knock on his door again, for sure, and he's going to have to make a decision. Where does he want to spend the next 4 to 5 years of his career when his AW contract comes up? Still in AW, or does he want to go back to Japan, probably for New Japan, and kind of create a lot, cement his legacy in the country there?
Yeah, it's a big question, because over the next roughly year, you've got some major contracts up with Omega, with the Bucks, with Will Ospreay, and Kota Ibushi, who has stated as well. All of those are really interesting question marks that are going to be specifically impacting New Japan / AEW, and where all these pieces on the chessboard land as well. Wanted to pick your brain a bit about what you have gotten to see over the past week. Of course, there was the Stardom card at Sumo Hall that drew over 3,800 fans. Noah as well, running at Budokan Hall as well. What have you got to see? What stands out to you over the past week? Some of the highlights.
So we'll start, I guess, chronologically. We'll start with the Stardom show. I watched not every match, but most of them. And I got to say, overall, I thought the show was good, but not great. Mm-hmm. I thought for me, the two matches that I watched that I thought were outstanding. One was, of course, the World of Stardom title match between Julia and Shuri. That was insane. The spot off the ramp.
Oh my god! I sent you that clip before you had seen it. I didn't want to ruin the match or anything for you, but that spot was just this is Northern Lights off the stage onto the chairs, which I don't need to see that replicated. It was just man, there is such a price to some of these spots. It just looked brutal.
I think that, and the whole match itself was just showing you how much this match meant to Julia and to Shuri, because I think legit they're pretty close. And as you saw in the post match interview between them, they're talking to each other and just declaring how much they mean to each other. But I think really Julia recognizes this is my moment to become the face of this company, to kind of supplant Mayu in the eyes of the kind of maybe the new fans that have kind of come into Stardom from the purchase by Bushi Road of the company. So I love the match. I thought it was really, really good. I know the other match I really liked, you might be surprised, was the Artist of Stardom title match, the 6-way with the Prominence versus Oedo Tai. I'm not a huge hardcore match person, but John, I love Suzu Suzuki. She is fucking awesome, and kudos to Oedo Tai. They went in there and they took a brutal beating especially from Risa Sera. Jesus Christ. But I this is my second favorite match on this show.
It was I really enjoyed the Goddess of Stardom title match. I know it's some weren't as high on it, but I thought the closing stretch was very, very strong in that match as well. You had the time limit with Kairi and Utami Hayashita, and they've set up Julia and Suzu Suzuki for an upcoming show.
Yeah. So, I think Yokohama, I believe. That'll be great, because just again, there's so much history between these two from their days in Ice Ribbon, and how Julia left Ice Ribbon to come to Stardom, and if you ever get a chance to watch a subtitled version of Suzu Suzuki's promo when she comes into to Stardom with Prominence and targets Julia right off the bat, it's great. It's just everything she says has so much emotion and weight behind it that you believe they probably there's probably some legit feelings of betrayal here, and they have excellent chemistry with one another in the ring, John, and I cannot wait to watch that match.
If you look down the road, all roads are going to lead to this April 23rd match, their card that they're running, which is going to be a giant event for Stardom. And with Mercedes Vernado linked to that card, would the timing be right? That would Julia and Mercedes be the big match to do on that show? What would your involvement be if you're booking Mercedes as one of, if not the main event on that show?
I suppose the idea is that her contract is with Bushiroad, so she can work both Stardom and New Japan shows. Yeah, I mean, if you want to draw the most people and you want to make it an international pay-per-view and try to get more, eyes outside of Japan on the product, then yeah, of course, anything with Mercedes is logical and a natural fit. I would hope that Mercedes has become more comfortable in front of a Japanese audience at that point and kind of shaken off the ring rust. But yeah, by that time, I would imagine with more matches under her belt, that she's going to be like having, being like, Sasha Banks that I was a big fan of in WWE, so. Sure.
I think Kairi's a great first opponent to do a big match with in front of a US audience on top of it. I think that will be, someone that she has worked with many times before. I think, and they're going to have the ability to go out there, and that could very well headline that card in San Jose, I think.
Oh, for sure. And if she wins, I don't know who's going to win that belt, to be honest with you, the IWGP Women's title, John. But yeah. I do say if Mercedes is going to do work for Stardom, do big shows, especially and if she's going to face Julia, then I don't think it's a good idea to have her be the IWGP Women's Champion because then you probably going to think it's going to be a time limit draw. That would be my guess for that, because I would not take the belt off Julia right away. And you could, and then if it's to build up towards Mercedes, but again, I don't know the nature of her contract, if it's for a specific amount of dates that she's going to do for New Japan and or Stardom. But yeah, that's what I love about wrestling right now, John. It's what's going to happen. It's very intriguing. What future plans are going to be.
And Noah has a lot of those what is going to happen questions attached to it as well. They ran on New Year's Day at Nippon Budokan, drawing 9,500 people, which is a very good number for Noah at any point for them as well. So this was headlined by the Great Muta and Shinsuke Nakamura. And Nakamura, I don't know who has been occupying this man's body for the last 6 years, but this was a different individual walking out and was the most charismatic star in the industry for this entrance alone with Lee England. I thought this entrance was, I don't think there's going to be an entrance this year that tops this for me.
No, it was great. I think maybe he wasn't exhausted from surfing all the time in Japan. So he had all his energy for this match. So unlike when he's in America, I mean, he's motivated because Keiji Muto means a lot to him. He does so much to the wrestlers of, Nakamura and Tanahashi's generation. For him to have the last singles match with this version of Muto, the Great Muta, he was gonna be yeah, fuck, I'm gonna main event Budokan Hall too. He's I'm sure he was on the plane ride over I'm hyped. I don't care about what I've been doing the last 6 years. This is what I'm most excited about right now. And he was going to always give it his all. And great entrance. Yeah, great entrance. I'm glad he got rid of the bell bottoms. He's wearing proper gear now. It's a good look for him.
Yeah, I thought that this match was largely carried by the star power involved. They had a very nice match. This wasn't, but you got your really great classic title match in the match that preceded this. And I had no issue with the match order. I thought this is the way that they should have ended the show with. But this audience, they were captivated by these two. They saw them as major stars. And, for a Muta match at the age of 60, I think you view this as a success. And, I guess you haven't seen his involvement at Wrestle Kingdom, but man, he's teasing that moonsault. And
I saw the clip of Tanahashi just saying, "Don't do it, please don't do it. You don't need to do it."
It was a funny spot, but I don't know if it'll be a funny spot come February, because I would be betting the over on him deciding to do that.
He's going to do it one more time, John. He's going to do it one more time for sure. I will say yeah. He didn't have to do much like Muta. All he had to do was the power drill elbow. All he had to do was a dragon screw leg whip and the mist. That's all people want to see. They just want to see those three things, and they'll be happy with Muda at the age of 60.
Yeah, that's it. And we went over the post-match comments, the unfortunate comments from Muto afterwards. It's I don't think he's received a whole lot of scrutiny for it. It's this guy is viewed as a legend to a lot of the public, but I found it pretty awful.
I was so disappointed. Just like people can make excuses. Like honestly, he knows better. Like he does. I think he does.
I think there was too much benefit of the doubt provided to the guy.
Yeah. So he's just, he's of a generation that does not, that has wrong views of a lot of things, including, the LGBTQ plus community. So, we just move on, like in terms of like, you don't forget it, or, certainly don't forgive the guy for making these comments. But, at some point I'm scheduled to do something about, with Braden Davey about, best match ever with them. Like, something I'm sure we'll talk about on the show. But like, at the same time, it's like, well, we just want to kind of like talk about his matches as well, but not ignore those terrible comments for sure.
Kaito Kiyomiya and Keno, I just thought they had an outstanding match together. Some of the highlights of this included this brutal Falcon arrow onto the edge of the apron. Kiyomiya hit a tope con hiro over the corner post to the floor. That was just beautiful. For guys that like, listen, they were not the main event on this show, but they treated this match as the match of the show, which it was. I thought this was, unfortunately, this is a match that is going to get lost in the wave of great matches this week. But man, this was one of them. I really enjoyed this. And dude, 19 minutes and 26 seconds.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, with Kiyomiya, like, I really feel, since the losses to when Keiji Muto came into the company, was beating him soundly and just embarrassing him. Like now, since winning the title again, having a victory over, like a victory over Fujita, even, that he's become comfortable in his own skin, and he feels like more of someone who's the ace of this company than he did when he was first crowned champion in the company. And I'm excited to see like how he develops even more. He's so young still.
I know.
And that's the crazy thing about this guy is so good at, and it's no coincidence that a lot of people liken him to Okada at the same age, and like they call him the supernova. And really, I think, if they don't screw this up, this title reign, like I think Noah has a really, really good chance of like, broadening their appeal across the world of wrestling, not just in Japan, but also, into the West as well. Like if you push someone like Kiyomiya, if you push people like Keno, and, to a degree, even like, Nakajima and like some of these guys on the undercard. And I honestly, I'll say this, if they really give stability and direction to the junior heavyweight division, you have so much potential there for crossover appeal into the West, especially like they do hire a lot of foreign talent to come over there. Like I'm very high on Ninja Mac being in that company. And I think, it was a really smart move for them to sign him to a long-term contract, and like that just push this guy. You do, some spot shows in the West, like in America or the UK, you have Ninja Mac like be a big part of those shows, and I think they'll attract a lot of attention. And I gotta say, I love the heavyweight tag team title match. I thought that was really fun and very nostalgic for me, seeing like Marufuji and Kenta team up again. But my other favorite match on this was the junior tag title match between Ada and KZ. Ada and Yoshinari Gawa taking on KZ, whom I'm a huge fan of. KZ, John, love this guy. I wish I got to start watching more Dragon Gate, because I love this guy. So I was really happy to see him come into Noah, and he's teaming with someone I'm not a huge fan of, but like I'm starting to warm up to him if he's teaming up with KZ more, and that's Yohei. I thought this title match was fucking awesome. Just probably my favorite tag match of the last 2 weeks of shows that I've been watching.
Yeah. Beyond those matches, I thought Junta Miyawaki really stood out to me in that junior heavyweight championship match. And to me, like, he's 25 years old. I'm very high on him as a someone to watch in Noah. And dude, on the other side of the coin is 60-plus-year-old Hiroshi-Hase, who was just one of the stars of the show for me. I thought he was awesome as the mystery partner. Dude came to work at this show. I thought he was great. He was one of the highlights of this show for me.
I mean, I didn't watch that match with a lot of like attention, to be honest with you. Like most of his teammates, I pretty much hate. But yeah,
wait,
he looked good.
Fujita was in this match, and no Sawa Rangai. What are you talking about?
Kendo Cashin. I hate all of them, John. It's like if I never see any of them in a wrestling match again, it'll be too soon. But yeah, Hase. I think anytime Hase's on the same card as Muto, he's gonna I'm gonna put all my effort into that, into being as good a performer or better, which is not a high bar to clear than Keiji Muto.
And last thing on the Noah show, Jake Lee coming to Noah.
Okay, I thought this was a dumb way to debut him, because like, why do you have him come out in his gear? He's not wrestling, and then he forms a friendship, a surprise friendship with Jack Morris. Why? Like, nothing screams more undercard to me than like pairing him up with like Jack Morris right away. As like, you mentioned that he's a Triple Crown champion. He's been a multiple tag champion in All Japan. Like, you should debut him as like a challenger for Kaito Kiyomiya right away and position him as a top guy, because like, yeah, it's not the same level. Noah's here and All Japan is here, but still, like, if you don't say that, you say this guy's a former Triple Crown champion. He's beaten all the top guys in All Japan, and now he's here in Noah to add more depth to our roster, and he's going to challenge Kiyomiya. That's how I would have done it. I wouldn't put him in a mid card like tag team with like Jack Morris. Like, no offense to that guy. I mean, he looks like Drew McIntyre's little brother to me, but like, whatever, but like, again, he comes out in his gear. He's not even having a match. It's like, I don't get it. I thought it was such a weird debut.
Yeah, he's wrestling Yoshiki Inamura this weekend on the 8th at Korakuen Hall, which I believe is the main event on that show. So I think the jury's out on, not even out. I'm optimistic of where Jake Lee lands, but you could certainly see like his introduction. It's not like this show ended and this was the headline, Jake Lee showing up. Like, it was a much more subdued appearance. But overall, I thought this was like a really enjoyable Noah card, and I think their big task is, once this whole wave of attention over the Muta retirement tour winds down, having enough in place that some of the curiosity extends beyond February 21st, and that you are hopefully expanding your fan base by doing these things like a Kenta coming back and a Nakamura showing up, and bringing in new talent like Jake Lee, like really having a solid picture so that people want to stick around and watch Noah. You're not going to capture everybody that's maybe swooping in for that Tokyo Dome show, but enough that, man, I want to, check in periodically with this company to hopefully gain some ground for them. We'll transfer over to All Japan as well. They ran on the 2nd and 3rd. Pretty much the second was all about getting Takuya Nomura into a position where you believed he could knock off Kento Miyahara. They had Miyahara and Nomura win the tag titles from Suwama and Kono. And then right afterwards, Nomura wins the New Year's Battle Royal. On the same day, he works a 6-man with Big Japan, and then comes back the next day to challenge Miyahara, where the luck ran out and Miyahara retained the title after 28 minutes and 42 seconds. But you are someone that has always been very high on Nomura, and it seems like they are not ready to put him at the top position. But this week, I think, really showed you their commitment to Nomura and making him one of the key guys for this year. It's
not unheard of for someone to work 2 promotions on a regular basis. Big Japan will always be his priority, I feel, but like, he's not I have been following too closely, Big Japan recently. So I don't know where he is in the mix, but I don't really see his name too much mentioned by the people I follow who do follow Big Japan regularly. So like, if he wants to, New Japan, if All Japan wants him to come in and, hey, we're going to push you as a top guy. I mean, he's tag champions with Miyahara, the biggest star in the company. That's nothing to scoff at. That's a big deal. And like the title matches that those two can have with different people on the roster, we got the next tag team title challenge coming up next, which is going to be, Naoya Nomura and Yuma Aoyagi reforming their tag team, and they're going to take on Miyahara and Takuya Nomura, which I think will be an awesome match, because both the Nomura guys, even though they have the same last name, they have excellent chemistry. They've go back to when they were both like young guys in each of their respective companies fighting each other. And I cannot wait to see this interaction of this version of Nomura versus this other version of Nomura. You pick which one I'm talking about, by the way. And yeah, like, and I'm so high on Yuma Aoyagi. I've been for the last several years. Like, I think this could be his year to really break out and reach that next level that he needs to reach. And I think the company needs him to reach for their own benefit. And if you're building the top scene around Miyahara, dates with Takuya Nomura for your big shows, Naoya Nomura returning from, like being a freelancer and maybe doing, like, again, he's doing this indie group, Real Blood and Capture Wrestling, I believe. But he's doing big dates for All Japan, plus Yuma Aoyagi, plus a returning Shotaro Ishino and Ryuki Honda getting pushed. That's 6 solid guys you can build a good, like, revolving scene around, like, of the main event, tag matches, and in singles. I think that's very promising. Plus a decent, like, junior division with Atsuki Aoyagi as the current champion, like, and people coming in to challenge him for that belt. I just have no faith in consistent booking, I'm afraid. Like, we'll see how the early part of this year goes with the booking in the company, but just based on talent, like, I think they have a really good solid base to work from.
Yeah, and it's always interesting when you see, someone of the level of a Jake Lee leaves, like, it does open that position. And if they get more kind of aggressive in tapping who is next in line that we can strap that rocket to, Takuya Nomura certainly seems like one of those candidates. But yeah, All Japan, I mean, it's distant from even, I would say, Noah at this point, but it's like a great collection of talent, and their heavyweight scene is, some very interesting stuff that they have, including like a one-off match with Miyahara and Yuji Nagata that I think even in 2023, I think Nagata will, that's a match he will certainly get up for and could be intriguing this year as well. Last but not least, what you did see of Wrestle Kingdom, what was your reaction to Omega and Ospreay, and any other closing thoughts?
Well, I also, the other thing I watched was, like, Kyrie versus Tom, and for what we got, I thought it was really good. Unfortunately, it was only 6-7 minutes long. But I get it. You have to have real estate for everything else, including the debut of Mercedes Moné, which was not good. Unfortunately, I chalk that up to, probably she's really nervous. It's like she's cutting a promo in English in front of a predominantly non-English speaking crowd. Ring rust, things like that. So, I kind of excuse, like, kind of the, the faux pas of that whole debut, but it's cool. Like, I'm glad she's there. Like, I'm glad that it gives something.
It's a big investment by Bushi Road.
Yeah.
And, the hope that, she will be a difference maker, not just like for the US market, but for Stardom. And, it's like, that will be a big story for those companies this year.
And Omega versus Ospreay, this was the match I was most looking forward to, because I thought because I was at All Out, and I thought for that weekend I saw the trios match between the Elite versus Aussie Open and Ospreay, and I just thought, this does not make any sense unless they're building to a singles match between Omega and Ospreay, and they did. And I thought, well, they got to do it for New Japan Wrestle Kingdom, because that's the make good for Forbidden Door. And that's what happened. And I watched this match, and I was just, like, really impressed. We got serious Ken-chan, not Weibo Ken-chan, which I'm always a fan of, like, when he's wants to be a wrestler and not a character. So, like, I thought we got that version of him. And Ospreay, like, he's just motivated. Like, I thought the promo he cut at the press conference on Omega was fantastic. Just so much emotion, legit emotion, I feel, too.
And they were smart to get that thing circulated all over the place for the final hours before Wrestle Kingdom. Like, it was a tremendous commercial for the match. And, like, I thought, like, Ospreay, his selling was just at another level for him in this match. Like, this to me was, it was like a level up for Will Ospreay, and that is not that's not an easy feat when you're coming off the kind of year that he had. I think this is going to be one of those defining matches for both of these guys, which covers a lot of ground when you look over the last 6-7 years.
I mean, I would go, if we're going to do the sandwich ratings, John.
What did you bring out?
This is a Montreal smoked meat with fries.
Ooh.
But I didn't give it pickles for one reason, John. You know, it missed the pickles because I had to see Don Callis in fucking capri pants in January. Fuck that.
And on that note, WH Park has given us his official match rating for Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. When do you expect the rematch to happen? Do you see it being all the way a year off? Could you see Forbidden Door, or is there another potential candidate?
I suppose like two other candidates besides next year's Wrestle Kingdom would be Forbidden Door if they do that again, and or Dominion.
Yeah, Dominion would be one that you could certainly throw in there. Like, it does seem like with the post-match comments from Ospreay, like this year is about avenging this loss to Omega and winning the big title, which I would be building my whole year till to next year's Wrestle Kingdom, is Ospreay as a babyface going for that title. And I think that could be your whole chase this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a story where maybe he wins the IWGP title along the way, and then he wants Omega for that US title, or like, is Omega going to be in the G1 this year? You do a storyline like that. I don't know. Or Omega wins the IWGP title and he's going for that title.
There's so much that comes out of this, and I think that is just music to New Japan's ears, that you have all these different directions that you can explore, and dependent on what Omega's availability is to them, like, you could do an Omega Okada match, because I think like the ultimate match is Will winning the title, but from Omega, like not the US title, but the main title that you could get to next year. But it's very complicated to try and book that when this guy's contracted to another company.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, how much is Tony Khan willing to spare Kenny Omega, like, especially now, like, holy shit, he's like you say, John, he's like the talk of the industry because of the match with Ospreay, and he's going to go back to AEW, and then like the first time he appears on screen in front of a live audience with that US title, like, the place is going to go nuts, I think. And then you build it, like, you could like have Omega versus Okada like at Forbidden Door 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. And then like who knows? It's intriguing. It's intriguing to talk about this. It's intriguing to see where is Jay White going to go. It's intriguing to see what's going to happen with Yo, and it's intriguing to see what All Japan is going to do with Takuya Nomura and a returning Shotaro Ashino. I would love to see those two fight each other. What's going to happen in No with Kiyomiya and his title reign? I'm really excited. Like, I haven't been this excited about Japanese wrestling since the pandemic started, John. And it's a nice feeling to be able to be excited to talk about it, to watch it and talk about it, and I hope we get more and more of this,
Look at that. In 1 week, the Japanese scene defrosting that fandom inside of WH, with lots to look forward to. And we always have lots to look forward to from WH Park, who you can hear every month on a Post Pro Res, I will say a collaborative now with Karen Peterson, a regular in the mix as well. And Karen did a fantastic job over the last week. Reports on the Stardom show, on Noah, as well as a great rundown of Wrestle Kingdom. So check out all of those in the show report section up at postwrestling.com. And WH, you will be back in the near future with the long and winding Royal Road. And any hints at what is coming up on the next episode, or anything you want to throw out there?
Well, I mean, I do have a guest booked. We haven't recorded yet, but it will be Alan Farrell.
Oh, okay.
Wrestling Torch.
A big fan.
First time on that show. He's been a guest on many shows of my, Cruel Summer and the Thunderstruck. And
did he choose something that it like exists on a hard drive that no one's going to have any access to?
No, I threw out. So I just revealed this, like a peek behind the curtain. I said, do you want to do the Can-Ams versus Kikuchi and Kobashi?
Okay.
He's like, he said to me, WH, I've talked about that much so many times with other people. Like, I would love to do something different. So we are going to talk about a match. It's probably on, like, easily accessible. It's Hayabusa and Jinsei Suzuki. The second time I'm going to be talking about this team on this show, against, who is it again? Who did he pick? Was it, I think it's like Jun Izumida and, oh fuck, who is it again? The, Tame and Honda. I think that's the match he picked. I have to go look at my DM with him.
Listen, the headline is WH Park and Alan Farrell together talking about wrestling. Okay, the match is secondary. We will get that match out to everybody so that they are aware. But that's going to be coming up later in the month in January. So that will be on the Post Wrestling feed. So subscribe on your podcast app of choice, and dare I say, leave us a beautiful 5-star rating. You can subscribe.
Also, get the T-shirt. Don't forget the T-shirt, John.
Store.postwrestling.com. This shirt is fantastic. A great follow up to your other bestseller, and everyone loving the new shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I got word from someone in the industry who we sent the shirt to, and he said he even said his girlfriend loves the design. So there you go. What more do you need?
We can put that in quotes on store.postwrestling.com.
That's right. Even Wrestling Insider and his girlfriend love the shirt.
All right. Well, WH, thank you so much as always for joining me. If you want to hear me and Wei and our extensive rundown of Wrestle Kingdom 17, you can go to postwrestlingcafe.com. $6 gets you in the door for all of our bonus shows, including Wrestle Kingdom that was up on Wednesday, where the two of us discussed that show on very little sleep, but lots of thoughts and reaction to the big show at the Tokyo Dome. WH, we will be back together sooner rather than later. So I thank you very much. We are just two guys, and we are signing off. So thank you to everybody for joining us live, downloading the show. Catch all of his work, WH Park 9 on Twitter, and we will speak with you